Welcome to your 2024 Love Horoscopes. In 2024, the main theme is that you have to first understand yourself before you can build a happy, long-lasting relationship. In this video, I will tell you everything you need to know about 2024 and the biggest romantic transits for your sign. Let's dive in. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive astrology. If you like my work, please support me by leaving a like or a comment, subscribing, and pressing that notification bell. All of that helps. You also have the option of saying thank you by buying me a coffee. Before we dive in, a couple of announcements. I am currently offering discounts on 2024 year ahead readings. If you'd like to know what the year has in store for you, you can save $20 off the in-person consultation, or you can save $40 and get the recorded reading in the shop section of my website. In the shop section of my website, you can also find my 2024 planner. I put so much love into this. It has 225 pages filled with astrological insights, journaling prompts, helpful information about transits, lunar phases, lunar signs, even best dates to get married or to start a business. And this ships it takes about 2 weeks for it to get shipped, and it ships to most places in the world, or most of the biggest countries in the world, so you still have time to order yours. And since we're talking about love, I'd like to highlight my Venus in Libra candles, specifically Venus in Libra from 2022. This one highlights the powerful Venus in the sign of her rulership with the moon waxing. Perfect for anyone born with their Venus in a weaker position, such as Aries, Virgo, or Scorpio. If your Venus is in a dark house, 6th, 8th, or 12th, making that Venusian charm harder to access, self-love harder to access. Or if you have Venus in difficult aspects, like if your Venus is in Pisces right now and Saturn is in Pisces, or if you were born with Venus conjunct Saturn. This one is decorated with with copper foil, and it smells like rose. And there's also a 2023 edition of Venus in Libra, and this one is decorated with amethyst stones and smells like honeysuckle jasmine. Both are of similar energy, but of course every single year has a different Venus, even when she travels through the same sign. So check out my website for that. And let's talk about love in 2024. This is exciting. We're going to go through all 12 signs. Just keep in mind that I recommend listening for your rising sign. You can also listen for your sun sign if you find those horoscopes resonate with you more, or for your moon sign if you find that resonates more. The rising sign horoscope takes transits and puts them where they actually fall in your chart, so it tends to be more accurate. And just so you know that I will cover main transits, it will be different for each sign based on your 7th house and what's happening in your 7th house. I will talk about the best Venusian times. I will talk about the important new moons, full moons, Pluto transits if it's necessary, eclipses if it's necessary. And in astrology, we have multiple windows of opportunity, right? No chart is ever like doomed to a point that you cannot find a partner, but there is bigger windows, like eclipses in the 7th house tend to be bigger windows. And there are smaller windows like new moons or important Venus transits, for example. So just know that the dates I give you will activate different people's charts differently, right? So if you are an Aries rising, there's a lot to be excited about. In 2024, we're continuing to have eclipses between your 1st and your 7th house. And the nodes will be moving from 21 degrees to 1 degree. So if your ascendant is between 1 to 21 degrees of Aries, or if you have important planets in those degrees, like your Venus or the ruler of your 7th house, these eclipses will be even more important to you. So on October 14th in 2023, we had a solar eclipse in Libra in your 7th house of relationships. That could have brought new beginnings, new opportunities, new exciting encounters into your life. It could have also brought attention to what needs to be let go, because yes, you're getting eclipses in your 7th house, but your north node right now is in your 1st house. So it's very much about what do you want, right? The north node brings attention to you, and then relationships follow. So if you are on a journey of self-discovery and you're choosing to rethink your career, or you're choosing to move, or you're choosing to maybe, like maybe relationships are not on top of your list right now. So then the eclipses in the 7th house, the one that we just had on October 14th, and then the ones that are coming up on March 25th and October 2nd. March 25th and October 2nd, the eclipses in 2024 that are coming in your 7th house, then they could be more about letting go of the old relationships and freeing space for new beginnings personally. So we had an eclipse on October 14th in 2023. Definitely take a look back and think of what it brought into your life. What kind of energy did you rethink? What did you let go of? Because on March 25th, we're going to get a lunar eclipse. And there is a lot of sirens bringing attention to eclipses. Big deal. They are. So March 25th and October 2nd could be very significant in terms of your relationship life. On March 25th, we get a lunar eclipse in your 7th house in 5 degrees Libra. So if you are an Aries rising, or you have Aries placements or Libra placements between 2 and 8 degrees, then this eclipse will hit you stronger. And this is a lunar eclipse. So in March, you're likely to be completing something. You're likely to be closing a chapter. And what else is going on in March, right? What's interesting is not only you get that completion in the relationship sector, you're getting a lot of fresh new energy in your 1st house of self. So once again, like, you are on this trajectory of reinventing, rethinking, redefining yourself. And first, in late March, you have to let something go. You have to complete that cycle of relationship growth that started in mid-October with the solar eclipse in Libra. Because in April, you're going to get Mercury retrograde between the 1st and 25th in your 1st house of self. You're going to get a solar eclipse on April 8th in your 1st house of self. Venus is in your 1st house between April 5th and 29th. So April is just so busy and so potent and kind of powerful and highlighted. It highlights you. And I think the change in relationship is very much inspired by what you're going through. Perhaps you decide to move and your relationship ends because the partner is not interested in moving with you. Perhaps you decide to become a parent and then the relationship transforms and grows stronger because you are moving forward with that partnership interest. One thing to note here is don't be worried about your relationship ending. This doesn't have to be that, or if the relationship ends, in the case of South Node, it will feel like a relief, most likely. It will also be something that you initiate, like, you're not necessarily going to wait for somebody else to do it because you are driven to make changes. You are driven to transform, right? But 2024 is very big, I think, in terms of you discovering your purpose, in terms of you taking action, you're being a leader, you're being the person who gets things going. And so any relationship potential and relationship possibility is like heavily dependent on your initiative. I feel like if you want a relationship in 2024, nobody can stop you, Aries, because you just have that energy of like not giving up. Sticking with the energy of the eclipses, in mid-September, early October, we have our second pair of the eclipses, and this time around on September 17th, we're going to have an eclipse in Pisces, your 12th house, which is interesting because to me that suggests that you are taking a close look at your blind spots. Perhaps you're looking at your self-defeating tendencies in relationships, you're examining past connections, maybe you're healing old wounds, maybe you're literally reconnecting with someone in the past. And then that leads into a solar eclipse, which is new beginnings, in your house of relationships on October 2nd. So clearing out space, having difficult conversations, closing chapter of, you know, if you're, let's say if you're in the process of divorce, maybe that's the time when you're completing the divorce, and then later in the year you are more ready to welcome something new and to open yourself up to new possibilities. I just keep picking up this energy from this as like, you're not compromising. You're no longer sort of putting yourself second or second guessing yourself. You're becoming more confident and self-aware this year, and sort of not afraid to shine your light, right? And then once again, if people are scared of that, if you're with someone who, you know, is afraid of you making more money than them, or someone who kind of puts you down in any way or doesn't support you, you're just no longer going to stand for that. You're going to, like, you know, you're not going to care for it because you want someone who is there for you. So other things that are interesting to highlight early in the year, so between January 1st and 23rd, Venus is in Sagittarius, your 9th house, and Venus rules your 7th house of relationships, so it's worth tracking her and seeing what she's up to. So early in the year, it's a great time to travel. It's a great time to date someone foreign, to date someone who's your classmate. You may be drawn to people who are foreigners or speak a foreign language, who are open-minded, well-educated. They can literally be teachers, or they can be of somewhat different background than you. This energy comes back around when we get Venus in Sagittarius between October 17th and November 11th. So it's so interesting, right? Like, fresh from that eclipse and new beginnings in your house of relationships, Venus once again will be in your 9th house of education and travel. Could you be meeting someone while traveling? Or could your desires be connected to moving to a different country, and then the partnership happens when you move there? Once again, right? You are the spark. You are the fire starter in this storyline. So that is important. We get the full moon in Leo, your 5th house, on January 25th, and that could be suggestive of some kind of transformation in the sector of love, in the sector of pleasure, in the sector of fun. Completing the chapter that started with the new moon in Leo on August 16th could be interesting to look back. You know, that was the time of the retrograde in last summer, right? Venus was like retrograde in Leo. Maybe you've been redefining what pleasure is, what joy is, and the full moon in Leo suggests that you're closing that chapter. Similarly, releasing connections that are not playful, not enjoyable, not supportive of your progress, and perhaps moving forward with the connections that are. February 22nd is an interesting date. Venus will be conjoining Mars in your 11th house, and I could see some of you getting in a relationship with a friend, maybe moving a partnership of sorts into a romantic sphere. Of course, this could also just be like the time when you get new dreams, you get excited about something. We talked about April as being really busy. Venus being in your 1st house between April 5th and 29th is your most charming, your most attractive, appealing, of course a little bit combative, a little bit maybe too independent, don't help me type energy, because it's Venus and Aries. But that could be the time when people approach you, because once again, Venus rules your house of relationships. So in April, there's a lot going on, and there's a chance that you won't even need to try that hard, that the right person will just sort of show up in your neighborhood or move into your building, right, and invite you out. So that is exciting. Venus will be in Leo, her house Joy, between July 11th and August 4th. And there's also going to be a new moon in Leo on August 4th in 12 degrees Leo. So if you have any planets in 10 to 15 degrees or even 9 to 15 degrees Leo, this could be extra significant for you. Or if your ascendant is also anywhere between 9 to 15 degrees Aries, or your sun or your moon or any other significant placement. And this is new beginnings in love. This is sort of, you know, I've been doing all this work on myself. Now I am ready for change. I'm ready for new beginnings. I'm ready for new opportunities. So July, August, don't stay at home. Put yourself out there, go dancing, explore a new creative hobby, hang out with friends. Venus rejoices in the 5th house, so this could actually be the time of exciting new opportunities. And then August 29th until September 22nd, 2024, Venus will be in her home sign, in Libra, in your 7th house. And this is also pre that cleansing, release of like bad habits and new beginnings in the relationship sector. So you have the goddess of beauty on your side, helping you be more diplomatic, more charming, more successful at getting along with others. So it's another beautiful opportunity to take advantage. The end of the year could be a bit more challenging, especially between December 6th and early January, as Mars retrogrades from Leo into Cancer. And that suggests a sort of a sense of like needing to look at your relationships and ask whether there is enough fun in them or whether something needs to be changed. Perhaps you need to rethink pleasure, and there's a chance that you're feeling like maybe you and your partner are temporarily out of sync, where like sexually or emotionally or creatively you need to connect and bring the two of you back together. I hope you enjoyed your 2024 love horoscopes, dear Aries. Check out my website and get yourself a 2024 personal horoscope reading. It's currently discounted. Information and coupon codes are below. And please leave me a like and subscribe if you haven't yet. For lovely Taurus's rising, so if you're a Taurus sun or moon, but rising preferably, 2024 is really big for your personal growth, as the biggest event of the year for you, and it will affect your love life, is Jupiter and Uranus conjoining on April 20th. And even Jupiter being in your 1st house the first 6 months of the year is significant because you are on this trajectory of reinventing yourself. It's Jupiter in a female sign of Taurus, yin sign of Taurus. So the changes that you're making right now are not necessarily the fastest, but big and significant, right? So this conjunction on April 20th that we're going to get is very significant. It's happening at 21 degrees. So if your ascendant is anywhere between, or your sun or your moon or any other planet, is between 18 and 24 degrees Taurus, this will be specifically extra important for you because it could inspire personal openings, personal change, personal reinvention, right? Like sudden, fast, surprising developments and opportunities to break away from something you've been working on, right? So like romantically, because 1st house represents your physical body, it represents your individuality. So your health might be improving, you might be becoming pregnant, you might be starting a new business, you might be moving. A lot of, I think, personal growth. And then because your 1st house is exactly opposite the 7th, relationships will have to adapt or end. Yeah, so, and if the relationship is already pretty weak and you are feeling like it's on its last legs, then it's most likely to end. But if you are, if you're strong and you've been together for a significant amount of time and you're close, this personal transformation can only benefit your relationships. So let's talk about more specific dates to watch for. Early in the year, Mars, the ruler of your 7th house of relationships, is in the 9th house of travel, education, foreign lands. So that's between January 4th and February 13th. And with Mars being there, either your partner is traveling more or you're traveling and meeting people, or you're meeting people through education. You're sort of becoming more active, and where Mars goes, the relationship goes, because Mars rules your 7th house of Scorpio. So traveling with your partner, dating foreign people, meeting someone when you go on vacation, dating your publisher or editor or something, dating a teacher, connecting, sort of learning about love, learning about pleasure is likely. there will be around like February, mid-February, so February 13th until March 22nd, and specifically February 22nd, Venus conjoins Mars in your 10th house of work. And this feels like conception of something, right? Like here we're looking at the 10th house of career, status, public life. So of course this could be separate from a relationship, but Venus rules you and Mars rules the house of relationships. So the two come together, and it's very fertile, a very, very fertile time potentially, because 10th house, if we talk about 10th house as your public life and you're very focused on becoming a parent, then becoming a parent, becoming more active in the parental circles could be part of what you're dreaming about, right? For others, this could literally be like a conception of some professional project. Or a big partnership. Mars being in Aquarius between February 13th and March 22nd, your 10th house, there is more opportunities to date a colleague. So here your focus is on career, and you may be meeting romantic interests through career. Around the same time, we're still in February, we get the full moon in Virgo, your 5th house, right? So this is 5 degrees Virgo, so especially important if you have any planets or your ascendant is between 2 and 8 degrees Taurus. And here we're completing a cycle that started with a new moon in Virgo in mid-September, and changes that come with a full moon in the 5th house have to do with relationships, progress of relationships, or letting them go because you feel like they're not aligned with who you're trying to become. And pregnancy, right? Birth of some sort. So full moon, if you have been working on getting pregnant, if you have been having conversations about that and something got started in September, the full moon in Virgo could be the time you get pregnant, or you give birth, or you decide to sort of, go forward with maybe talking to doctors and doing IVF. So it's some kind of important development, I think, in terms of pleasure, in terms of joy and love. In April, we have that big Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, right? Big deal. Like I said, big transformations related to your vitality, to your health, to your physical body. So becoming a parent would be one of them, but also maybe moving, maybe changing who you are professionally with Pluto being in your 10th house. I think whatever you already have in your mind when you think about your dreams and you think about achievement is likely what you will be working on in 2024. So it could be something brand new and something surprising and unexpected, but Jupiter has been in your first house since May 2023. So it's like I said, it's not likely that this is completely brand new. Venus is in Taurus, your first house. Well, actually even before then, on April 23rd, we have a full moon in Scorpio, your 7th house. So this is at 4 degrees Scorpio. So if you have strong placements, your ascendant between 1 and 7 degrees Taurus, this is extra important for you. And this completes the relationship chapter or partnership chapter that started on November 13th with a new moon in Scorpio, and brings a solidification of a partnership, commitment, moving a relationship to the next level, or separating if you have felt like the relationship is no longer satisfying. Between April 29th, May 23rd, Venus is in Taurus, your first house. You're getting to reinvent yourself after you've just sort of made serious relationship decisions, decisions about partnerships. So then Venus goes into Taurus and you feel at your most charming, at your most beautiful and most appealing. So it's a great time to manifest something. And then we have to fast forward to August, when Venus goes into Virgo between the 4th and 29th. She's in your 5th house. And Venus in Virgo is in her fall. So the challenge here could be being too critical of your relationship or of your child or of your partner. But on the positive, it is still Venus and her joy. So you can experience a sense of creative reinvention. Around the same time, we also have Mercury retrograding from 4 degrees Virgo into 21 degrees Leo. So moving from your 5th house into the 4th house, suggesting a need to rethink, reinvent pleasure. It could be the time when you are trying to figure out better dates to have. Maybe you feel like your relationship has been stagnant and things have been kind of repetitive. You may be trying to reconnect with your partner. It's so interesting because, like, you know, we have Venus in Virgo in your 5th house in August, and we get that retrograde in August. So August could be a bit of a period where you're like hitting bumps and hitting like roadblocks. Like, you know, you felt the relationship was moving forward or things were kind of developing, and then the retrograde comes and you realize that, oh, there's something we haven't talked about, or there's something we're not on the same page. And then we get a new moon in Virgo, 11 degrees Virgo, on September 2nd. So after the bumpy road of August, September has more potential and more opportunities to either start a new relationship if you're single, or have more fun in the existing one. Maybe have like a creative passion you work on together, or even, you know, if we're still talking about the journey of pregnancy, to maybe, you know, make some choices and come to some agreements about your child and kind of connect with the child better potentially. Between September 22nd and October 17th, Venus will be in Scorpio, your 7th house, and on November 1st, we're getting a new moon in Scorpio, 9 degrees Scorpio, your 7th house. So the new moon is most significant if you have planets between 6 and 12 degrees Scorpio. This new moon on November 1st could be the opportunity to solidify the relationship, to either meet somebody new. Like I said at the start of this video, it's all openings, right? Bigger or smaller openings. So the new moon in the 7th house could be a start of a 6 months period of dating and putting yourself out there. Or in an existing relationship, November could be the time where you are getting closer, you are making a move. Maybe you're moving in together. Maybe you are getting engaged or getting married. It's an exciting time to, I think, go for new, fresh energy in relationships. I hope you enjoyed this 2024 love horoscope. If you like my work, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And check out my website to pick up a discounted 2024 horoscope. You can save $20 on the in-person consultation, or you can save $40 by getting a recorded reading. Links are down below. For Gemini risings, happy 2024. Let's talk about love in 2024. So I look at a few things. Eclipses will be important for you, and Jupiter transits will be important for you. As a Gemini rising, your 7th house is Sagittarius. It is ruled by Jupiter. So where Jupiter goes, your relationships go. And I would look at, what's happening with your natal Jupiter potentially, but that's something that we should probably discuss during an in-person consultation. But yeah, like if you have any important planets in Taurus, if you have planets in Gemini and Jupiter makes aspects to them this year, it will be a especially significant year for you romantically. So Jupiter is in Taurus from January 1st until May 25th. It moves, pretty much from like 5 or 6 degrees Taurus until the end of Taurus, and conjoins Uranus on April 20th. And so the ruler of your 7th house being in the 12th is suggestive of you meeting or being interested in people who are foreign, who are different, who are maybe far away. Maybe you're doing long distance currently because the partner is in the place of foreign lands. You may also be interested in people who are more spiritual, likely more introverted, and somehow they're kind of sort of hidden from sight right now. And that will change most likely as Jupiter enters Gemini on May 25th, and Jupiter stays in Gemini until June 9th, 2025. So there is an influx of like fresh energy. The ruler of your house of relationships is coming to you. It's coming to your face almost, right? Like whenever the ruler of the 7th house is transiting the 1st, it becomes easier to connect with other people because you don't have to work as hard, right? Like they find you. You go to a coffee shop, reading a book, not looking at anyone, and a beautiful stranger sits across from you and starts a chat. So it's a lovely year in which there is a lot of potential possibilities. Jupiter will be squaring Saturn, so there is a bit of a tension between your desire for love, your desire for personal growth, and your professional responsibilities. So maybe there are opportunities, but you're sort of, Saturn is bringing a lot of your attention to the duties and the work and the grind that you're handling and asking you to not give up and asking you to juggle a lot of balls. So it might be difficult a little bit. And it's Jupiter in detriment. So when we have a planet in detriment, the opportunities to meet people will likely to be abundant, but you still have to be careful with who you date, right? You may need to be extra discerning. So don't just go for the first person that approaches you. Pay attention specifically to their beliefs. Like, do they have good morals, good ideals, and are they aligned with you? The eclipses are also quite significant, especially Libra eclipses, because Libra is your 5th house. So we're going to have a lunar eclipse on March 25th in your 5th house. And take a look back at October 14th when we had a solar eclipse in Libra. If you have met someone, if you have joined a dating app or you started going on more dates, the lunar eclipse that's happening on March 25th can bring a change. It could bring okay, I'm no longer just dating around. Now there's this person and we're going to explore it. So letting go of a connection is another possibility. Like, let's say you're feeling like they are holding you back or they're not aligned with your goals. That might be the time when you let someone go. But don't worry about it too much because you are getting a solar eclipse in October 2nd. So if March brings a release and a chance to let someone go, then October could be very significant for new beginnings, right? It's still very interesting because your North Node currently is in Aries, which is your 11th house. So it's saying that you have these big dreams, you have these new projects and new aspirations and new vision of yourself in the world. And the South Node in the 5th is also saying okay, but you have this relationship karma that you need to address. So for some people, the relationship focus could be about letting a relationship go. For others, it could be about realizing what patterns you have that are unhealthy. Where are you being too agreeable? Where are you sacrificing yourself and not letting, not sort of choosing yourself? So it's like I said, the theme of the year, right? Like learning to be more direct, learning to be more forward and Aries, taking risks, but also making sure that you're not sacrificing yourself in the process. So let's talk a little bit about some other important transits, important dates that I want to give you. So early in the year, we have the retrograde that is happening between your 8th and your 7th. And that retrograde ends on January 1st, but you're coming into the year fresh from asking a lot of questions. If you're single, maybe you've dealt with some exes, maybe you've dealt with some relationship kind of uncertainty about dating and just felt overall uninspired. If you're in a relationship, you may have had to deal with some questions connected to money and values and negotiating and coming to agreements with your partner, maybe rethinking how you manage finances, how you manage resources. And then on the 1st of the year, Mercury goes direct. So you can expect more straightforward communication. The confusion internally and externally should start to lift. Venus is also in your 7th house between December 29th and January 23rd. And then again between October 17th and November 11th. So you are lucky. You get 2 periods of Venus in your 7th house, and that should soften things, right? Like if you are feeling right now that like relationships are confusing or you don't quite understand which direction to go in, I think Venus being in Sagittarius in your 7th house could offer some exciting opportunities, and they could be connected to dating. Once again, someone foreign, someone of a different culture, someone who's maybe in a different country, someone you meet while traveling, someone who speaks a different language. So there's a lot of exciting possibilities. Even more so, if we move forward to February 22nd, we have Venus conjunct Mars in Aquarius, your 9th house, right? Teachers, foreigners, foreign connections, right? New beginnings, kind of conception of something. It could also be, it could be about like a new subject you want to study, but it could definitely be new beginnings in terms of like, oh, I went on a trip. And if if you are in a relationship, this is a really great time to go on a trip with your partner. But if you're single, it's a great time to go and do Bumble abroad, for example, or something like that. So that is, I think, an opportunity, February 22nd. The lunar eclipse on March 25th, we talked about, is completion of some kind of romantic chapter, closing, coming to an end, turning, right? April 20th is fascinating. It can bring like sudden, unique opportunities to date, because on April 20th, we have Jupiter, the ruler of your 7th house, conjoining Uranus in Taurus in your 12th house. So people can come into your life unexpectedly. There could be a unique opportunity to start some kind of spiritual partnership or spiritual relationship, to date someone who maybe has been right next to you the whole time, but you didn't realize they were there, right? Maybe it's, I don't know, a neighbor knocking on your door or something like that. But yeah, it could really bring like very quick developments. And then even more, like on May 23rd, 22nd, 23rd, and the entirety, like from April 29th until May 23rd, Venus is in your 12th house of foreign land. So I keep saying it, but I think I really think the first 6 months of the year, the chances of you dating or meeting someone while traveling or connecting with someone of a different culture or being in a long-term relationship are more likely. Please let me know if this resonates, if you are, already in a long-distance relationship with somebody. On May 23rd, we get a full moon in Sagittarius, your 7th house. So this brings a change, and this is 2 degrees 54 minutes Sagittarius. So if your ascendant is between 0 and 6 degrees Gemini, this full moon will hit you stronger. But here you are turning a relationship. You are completing a chapter where if you are together with someone, this could be the time of commitment. This could be a big development like moving in together, becoming pregnant, getting engaged. If you're single, this could be the time when you put yourself out there, or you decide that, you're no longer interested in just dating for fun, and what you're looking for is a more serious type of relationship. So some kind of relationship turn is likely here. Between May 23rd and June 17th, Venus is in your 1st house. There's going to be Venus cazimi on June 4th, and Mercury conjoins Jupiter also on June 4th. So this is where that shift happens. This is where you become your most charming, you become more visible, you become more confident. And the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction on June 4th and Venus cazimi is another opportunity where somebody might just show up. And of course, don't just sit in your house hoping that they will knock on your door. Dress up, go outside, show your face if you're looking for a relationship. But it's like I said, that Jupiter transit that begins on May 25th and lasts until June 9th, 2025 is very potent for personal reinvention, for personal sort of visibility, and for opportunities romantically. August 29th until September 22nd is big. Venus will be in your 5th house. It's her house joy. More opportunities to date. There's that solar eclipse on October 2nd. New beginnings in love, new beginnings in sex. You're becoming more open-minded. You're becoming more interested in having fun and enjoying life, and that is beautiful. And on December 1st, there's going to be a new moon in your 7th house, 9 degrees Sagittarius. So this is especially important if you have natal planets between 6 and 12 degrees Gemini, or your ascendant is between 6 and 12 degrees Gemini, because this is a big opportunity to take those new beginnings that you have experienced with the solar eclipse or with Venus in your 5th house and make serious moves, commit, agree to be exclusive, which is, I guess, similar to committing. Get engaged, move in together, start a partnership of some sort, start a business with your spouse or your partner or your boyfriend. Very exciting energy closer to the end of the year. I hope you enjoyed this love horoscope for 2024. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel and get your 2024 personal horoscope. It is currently discounted. You can save $20 from the live face-to-face conversation with me, or $40 by getting a recorded reading. Check it out. Dear Cancers, welcome to your love horoscope for 2024. There are a few important highlights in 2024. First of all, Pluto is finishing its journey through Capricorn, which is your 7th house. It's going to move through the last 2 degrees. So if you have any planets, actually potentially even through just the last degree, but if you have any planets between like 28 and 29 degrees Cancer, or if your ascendant is in the very late degrees Cancer, then this could be very significant for you. But even if not, these are the last opportunities to clean up your relationship karma. And I'm getting this crazy light once every day. I get this weird light, and you're getting it with me, Cancer risings or Cancer suns or moons. So with Pluto in Capricorn, Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. So this is so exciting, and I think it's going to feel like so relieving and so clearing and opening when Pluto leaves your 7th house, because you've been in this place of like facing shadows and dealing with relationship drama and, dealing with power struggles and fears in relationships, dating people who maybe were trying to establish control over you, or who were somehow like Plutonian, right? Like people who are controlling or manipulative on the negative. On the positive, this could be a very big romantic transit for you, where maybe you have connected with someone who could see the insides of your soul, right? Like dating and having relationships. This light is crazy. It's like you can also see the blinds being visible on my face. So dating people who have opened you up to new possibilities, dating people who have touched your soul very deeply. It could have been likely here. And you get the final round. So between January 1st and 20th, Pluto is in Capricorn. On the 20th, it will conjoin the Sun. So some kind of important revelation, important conversation, important romantic development, a moment you find out a secret or you learn something about your past or your partner's past, and then that encourages you to make a choice of letting a connection go or getting closer and, strengthening the relationship. And then one final, one teeny tiny round you get between September 1st and November 19th. And that is the end of that, of that difficult or empowering, potentially difficult and empowering period in your relationships. This also applies to your existing partnership. If you're married and your partner has been going through a more difficult time since 2008, this could be the time when this is completing. Of course, Pluto will go into Aquarius right after that, and this is your 8th house, so you're still in the place of finding power through dealing with money, perhaps renegotiating your agreements in relationships, finding better ways of sharing, and maybe making sure that you make enough, or sort of addressing these difficult topics surrounding money, surrounding connections, surrounding vulnerability. Saturn, the ruler of your 7th house, is in the 9th all year. And I like looking at Saturn because where the ruler of your 7th house goes, that's where your relationships go. So having the ruler of the 7th being the 9th, to me, is suggestive that the partner may be coming from an education sector. So if somebody new is coming into your life, they could be a teacher, they could be a mentor, they could be from a different country, or somebody you meet while traveling. There's some kind of element of like, you know, they're likely to be your elder potentially, or someone who is well educated, well-rounded, well-experienced, someone you can see as like a guide. Even if they are not of a different age than you, there's still an element of like, you know, difference. Something about them is more different. Maybe they're more spiritual. Maybe they're more, maybe they speak more languages or something like that. Or maybe they're a writer, right? Like 9th house is the place of publishing, or a lawyer. Venus being here between March 11th and April 5th and conjoining Saturn on March 21st could stimulate this even more. So for my single Cancers, Cancer risings, this is, you know, March, April could be very busy and very sort of packed with romantic opportunities, especially if you're traveling or especially if you're studying. I can see like new, fresh energy coming into your life. And the March 21st could also be like the time of some kind of commitment in an existing relationship. We also have around the same period, we have a Venus in Pisces ruled eclipse, right? So Venus conjoins Saturn on March 21st, and then we get an eclipse in Libra on March 25th. So fated connections are likely. Of course, for some of you, they're not going to be necessarily romantic. This could also just be like a major teacher, a major, you know, influential person coming into your life. But because Saturn rules the house of romance, if you are on the market, this is the period when to open yourself up and, you know, put a posting in the newspaper and say, I'm looking. So some other important dates early in the year, you are potentially in the place of relationship revision with Mercury retrograding from Capricorn into Sagittarius. The retrograde ends on the 1st, and then we get a new moon in your 7th house on the 11th of January. So fresh from the retrograde, maybe you've had to have some difficult conversations. Maybe you've had to negotiate your agreements, negotiate who picks up the child on Fridays, right? Because you have a class you're teaching. And the new moon is a burst of like fresh energy, fresh opportunities, new relationships, new agreements, new vision of your partnership. January 20th, like I said, we have that Sun-Pluto conjunction, a moment of seeing the shadows, like the shadows, the power struggles, obsessions, difficult emotions get illuminated with this transit. And then Pluto goes into your 8th house. So then you get to sit with it for a few months and maybe figure out like actual laws, actual agreements around these topics that you have faced. Between January 23rd and February 16th, Venus is in Capricorn, your 7th house. January 28th is really lovely as it sextiles Saturn in the 9th, trines Jupiter in the 11th. Beautiful energy for love. Once again, beautiful energy for dating or connecting with teachers, mentors, classmates. Moving a friendship to the next level are all possibilities here. February 22nd, we have Venus conjoining Mars in Aquarius, your 8th house, and this could bring new financial developments, like new beginnings and partners' resources, where you're benefiting through maybe your partner getting a raise or your partner going through some kind of upliftment, like they get an opportunity or other people bring you an opportunity and you're benefiting by proximity to those people. April 23rd, there's a full moon in Scorpio in your 5th house, completing a cycle started with new moon, or we had an eclipse in Scorpio. No, actually it was a new moon in Scorpio. Never mind. It was a lunar eclipse in Taurus. But yeah, so April 23rd, there's a full moon, 4 degrees, 17 minutes, Scorpio, your 5th house. You will feel it especially strongly if you have planets or your ascendant is between 1 and 7 degrees, Taurus, Cancer. Like all the signs just blending in my head. So the full moon in the 5th house on April 23rd brings a completion of a romantic chapter started 6 months ago on November 13th. It could bring changes around children. Maybe some kind of, either pregnancy or giving birth if you are pregnant right now. There may be new developments around pleasure. Maybe you decide to start experimenting sexually, or you decide to open your marriage, or you just, kind of complete a romantic relationship and free yourself up for new possibilities. There are two full moons in your relationship house, your 7th house, so we have one on June 21st and then another one on July 21st. This is so interesting because the first one is at 1 degrees Capricorn and the second one is at 29 degrees Capricorn. So June 21st is more important for Cancers with placements between 0 and 4 degrees Cap, and the second one on July 21st is more important for those between 26 and 29 Cancer placements or Capricorn placements. Either works. So this is completing a chapter that started on January 11th with the new moon in your 7th house. Like when I talked about Mercury retrograde wrapping up and the new moon happening after you've maybe revised some agreements, looked over some relationship dynamics, rehashed some of the old conflicts. Perhaps these full moons, either of them or both of them, could be the time when you feel like you are now more aligned. And so this is the time to celebrate your relationship. This is the time to commit. This is the time to get married or get engaged or sort of, move forward with the relationship that you're in. Other important dates: Venus will be in Scorpio between September 22nd, October 17th, and then in Capricorn between November 11th and December 7th. Both are beautiful for love. Both are beautiful for dating. You are more charming. You're more diplomatic. You're more magnetic, right? Venus in Scorpio, especially in September and October. There's also a new moon in Scorpio on November 1st and a new moon in Capricorn on December 30th. So a lot of as the year wraps up, there is more, once again, possibilities for new beginnings if you're single at that point, and more opportunities to manifest and draw in new connections. I think in general, if you're a Cancer rising, Capricorn season could be busier for you romantically. So as we enter that Capricorn season or Scorpio season, your love life speeds up and becomes more steamy and interesting. I hope you enjoyed this love horoscope for 2024. Please support my work by leaving a like and subscribing, and get your 2024 personal reading where I cover what's ahead for you in the year to come. It is currently discounted. You can get $20 off the person face-to-face conversation or save $40 and get a recorded reading. Links are down below. Lovely Leo risings. I think this would be a very significant romantic year for you as Pluto enters Aquarius and travels from 0 to 2 degrees between January 20th and September 1st. And then on November 19th, 2024, it enters Pluto for the next 20 years. So it's a big deal, right? Especially if you are early Leo rising. If you have early Leo planets between 0 and 2 degrees, or if your ascendant is very early in Leo, you're likely to feel this more dramatically. Same goes for if you have early planets, same degrees in Aquarius or Scorpio or Taurus, you will be more activated by this transit. But Pluto entering your 7th house, we have had that happen. We had a small preview in 2023 between March 23rd and June 11th. So Pluto would have entered your 7th house before, right? Just getting comfortable because I'm here for a while. I'm going to be here for a while. So thank you for watching and being here for a while with me. So March 23rd until June 11th, we had Pluto tiptoeing, like sort of one toe went into your 7th house. And take a look back. Have you discovered, have you addressed any challenges in love? Have you faced any power struggles? Have you examined any shadows in yourself or in your loved ones? Maybe you've found out something about your relationship and made some difficult decisions, because this year, again, between January 20th and September 1st, and then starting November 19th, you will be examining power dynamics and facing shadows in relationships. Pluto's transit is very slow, right? Very slow. We have Pluto in the same sign for 20 years, as in the case with Aquarius. And so it initially, I think always, Pluto comes with darkness, and in darkness you can always see light. You have the free will, you have the power to work with the energy, right? So Pluto going into your 7th house this year could be the time where you are handling difficult relationships. You're sort of like you're facing fears when it comes to love. You're facing fears when it comes to connections and relationships. This is the time when you're examining, why are you perhaps struggling in love, right? Like, what are you afraid of? What are you drawing in? What is your inner attitude towards relationships? Because Pluto in the 2nd could bring up fears around love and sort of make you be a little bit skittish, right? And then partners or people in your life are acting weird and you're thinking it's about them, but in reality it's about you. So through relationships, through facing the shadows, you are meant to learn to build more connected, more honest, more vulnerable relationships in which you share the power instead of trying to control the power. So that's a big deal. And then I'm also quite excited for Venus and Mars conjunction in February. February is like a really, really big month for you. But before we talk about it, let's talk a little bit about January. So between January 1st and January 23rd, Venus is in Sagittarius, your 5th house. And we just had a new moon in Sagittarius on December 12th, 2023. So the new moon in Sagittarius could have introduced, and also Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, right? So there's a lot of potentially questions around what's fun in love, what's fun in life. Do my relationships reflect my desire for fun? Am I attuned with the inner child, and are my relationships helping or hindering that? So the new moon on December 12th could have brought up new possibilities, new connections, or a chance to bring fresh energy into relationships. And so Venus being in Sagittarius, your 5th house, between December 29th and January 23rd, and then actually again later in the year between October 17th and November 11th, are really good periods for dating, for going out, for having a good time. 5th house is the house of pleasures of life, right? And Venus rejoices there because Venus likes fun. She likes fun dates. She likes listening to music. She likes slow dancing. So with Venus being here in your 5th house until January 23rd, and then later in the year, you're getting to have a good time. Now, of course, what's interesting is we not only get Mercury retrograde in 2023, we're also going to get Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius in the end of the year, at the end of 2024. So between November 25th and December 15th, there's going to be Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius again. So the work that you're doing at the end of 2023 may need to be redone if you haven't learned the lesson, right? It's so interesting because Pluto being in your 5th house, right? The eclipse is happening between Libra and Aries, and Libra being your 3rd house of communication. There's so many fresh opportunities for love, but I think so much of it will need to be moved, you will need to move slowly, I think, and carefully, and make sure you're not sabotaging yourself or not sacrificing yourself. So January is also, I think, pretty big. I think you may get a sense of clarity once Mercury goes direct on January 1st. If you've experienced any stagnation when it comes to sex and pleasure and sort of felt like your love life is temporarily non-existent. Mercury goes direct on the 1st. Venus is in Sagittarius until the 23rd, and you're enjoying life to the fullest. You're having more fun. Pluto enters Aquarius on January 20th, begins that inner, deep, slow, transformative work. February is huge. February highlights your 7th house even more. So all of these Pluto activations, right? Like Pluto goes into your, I'm just gonna look up some dates with my beautiful planner. Find it on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. But Pluto entering your 7th house gets activated a bunch of times, because on February 13th, Mars enters Aquarius. On February 16th, Venus enters Aquarius. Mars conjoins Pluto on the 14th. Venus conjoins Pluto on the 17th of February. So pay attention to those February dates, because that is the time when Pluto gets hit, and Pluto hits introduce important themes. So like Mars conjunct Pluto could be the energy of like you, or most likely your partner, acting somehow forcefully, maybe pushy, maybe a bit controlling. And then Venus conjoining Pluto on the 17th is perhaps an opportunity to move through it with grace and peace and calmness, right? We also get a new moon in Aquarius on February 9th, which brings new beginnings to your relationships. These new beginnings will complete and come full circle and, sort of flourish around August 19th, when there is a full moon in Aquarius. So the chapter that starts in February, you will see it resolve, or you will see it kind of, come back around in February. I love February 22nd. Venus, just in general, the fact that you have Mars in Aquarius from February 13th until March 22nd, Venus there from February 16th until March 11th. So mid-February, mid-March are beautiful for love. They're beautiful for being both assertive and taking action, but also being charming. You're not gonna come across as angry or difficult. And those are beautiful opportunities to problem solve. You may get a chance to examine how you communicate in relationships when we get the eclipses around March 25th and October 2nd. We get a lunar eclipse and then the solar eclipse in Libra. And this is your 3rd house, and it's all about what are you saying versus what you're not saying, and how you can express yourself in a more direct way, right? North Node is in Aries, how you can express and share your ideas with the other person with more honesty. We also get a full moon in Sagittarius, your 5th house, on May 23rd. And this is 2 degrees 54 minutes Sagittarius. So if your ascendant is between 0 and 6 degrees Leo, or if you have any important planets in 0 to 6 degrees Leo or Sagittarius, this full moon will feel more strongly. And here we're completing the chapter that started with the new moon in Sagittarius on December 12th, and seeing the romantic partnership come full circle, seeing the romantic relationship strengthen or kind of separate if you have not been feeling aligned. You might sort of let the relationship linger a little bit longer, and then when the full moon in Aquarius comes around in mid-August, that might be the time when the relationship separates. And once again, it's not, I don't see this as it could be surprising, but most likely if the relationship does end, it's something that has been already struggling, something that you've already known doesn't have as much of a future or as much of a potential. The end of the year, we have that retrograde again in Sagittarius in your 5th house. So whatever the retrograde in the end of 2023 brought up, if it had made you examine pleasure, if it had encouraged you to have conversations about children, about the future, get ready to have that again between November 25th and December 15th. At the same time, we get the new moon in Sagittarius on December 1st, and Venus is going to be in your relationship sector of Aquarius between December 7th and January 2nd. So November, late November, December, once again, become very relationship focused. And I think the retrograde in the 5th house, I think, is making me, I really wonder if for some of you, if you're sort of, you know, asking big questions like, does this relationship have a future? Are we aligned in our attitudes and our values when it comes to children, when it comes to pleasure? You know, like one person says, I like smoking, you know, or having fun every weekend, and another person says like, I want you to get healthy so we can have kids and save money. And so there might be like a chance to either move through that disagreement or difference of values with grace and patience. Hopefully Venus in the 7th house could be helpful to you at that time, or a chance to, you know, maybe separate because your values are not aligned. And in that case, however difficult, this would be a blessing. I hope you enjoyed this love horoscope for 2024. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't yet. And consider getting yourself a 2024 personal reading on my website. They are currently discounted. Links and coupon codes down below. You can also order a recorded reading and save even more, and that would be in the shop section of my website. If you are a Virgo rising, this is your 2024 love horoscope. Saturn stays in your 7th house all year, right? It moves from 3 degrees to 19 degrees Pisces. So if your rising sign is between 3 to 19 degrees Virgo, or, you know, like maybe 2 to 20 degrees Virgo, you are likely to be dealing with Saturn the most, versus if your ascendant is at like 29 degrees Virgo, maybe you're going to experience it next year. But Saturn in the 7th is very much about relationship karma. It could be this year, you know, if you've already experienced it last year, because Saturn went into Pisces in March 2023. If your partner has been going through a more difficult time, if you have been trying to sort of move through difficult kind of situation with your partner, you know, maybe it's connected to their health, or it's connected to their income, or it's connected to their past, right? Like Saturn a lot of times rules like serious lessons. So your partner can be dealing with serious like responsibilities and heaviness, and, you know, kind of something that delays them or something that's holding them back. And so this year you're still working through that. Pluto will be finishing up its journey through Capricorn, sort of activating the last couple of degrees of Capricorn, and this is your 5th house. You get this. Pluto is in Capricorn between January 1st and 20th, with 20th being like a big hit as Sun conjoins Pluto, and then later in the year for a couple of months from September 1st until November 19th. And this is the ending sort of accords of the story that started in 2008 when Pluto first went into Capricorn. If you have faced any shadows around sex, around pleasure in relationships, around love, around children, Pluto will give you an opportunity to make sort of final brushstrokes on those storylines, right? It will encourage you to be more honest in your relationships. It will potentially bring more transformations in the lives of your children, or even offer an opportunity to become a parent if that's something that you've been working on, because, you know, the final accords of Pluto in your 5th house can actually be rewarding. It could be the time when the stories that you've been struggling with come around. And maybe Saturn in the 7th house brings like heaviness connected to becoming a parent, because it's not always it's not just pleasure, right? When you're a parent, you are highly responsible. So it's both, and you have to manage a bunch of things together. So that is, you know, that is something where you're dealing, I think, with more heavier energy, with more like serious topics. Saturn in the 7th could also be symbolic of commitment. It's not always just like heavy and difficult, especially in March. So I'd like to highlight March, because on March 10th we get a new moon in Pisces, your 7th house, 20 degrees Pisces. So especially important for people with their ascendant between 17 and 23 degrees Virgo. Venus also enters Pisces from March 11th until April 5th and conjoins Saturn on March 21st. So if there is any commitment, if there is any, like talks that you're having about engagement or about moving a relationship forward, that would be the time, right? That would be a very kind of significant development, I think, in your love life. And Venus being in Pisces between March 11th and April 5th is a beautiful time to start new relationships, to date. Similarly to January 23rd until February 16th, when Venus is in Capricorn, your 5th house. You might have like a better luck and attract better relationships. Pluto will also be out of Capricorn during that time. So maybe there's like less heaviness and more fun at this time. One other important development is that Jupiter, the ruler of your 7th house, is in Taurus, your 9th house, until May 25th, 2024. It conjoins Uranus on April 20th. And since Jupiter rules your house of relationships and it's in the 9th house, you may be meeting people that are foreign, people that are well educated. Maybe they're teachers, maybe they're mentors, maybe they're some kind of consultants or guides for other people. You may be finding love in the sector of writing and publishing. If you are a writer, maybe you're a publisher and you start up a romance, or it's your classmate, or it's just someone who is like crucial for opening up your mind. Those could also just be connections you're making to people in general, kind of knowing that they can help you move your goals forward and reach your dreams. And then starting in May 25th until June 9th, Jupiter will be in Gemini. So once again, the ruler of your 7th house, where he goes, your love life goes. So when Jupiter enters your 10th house, and that begins May 25th, lasts until June 9th, 2025, you may be meeting a partner at work, or your partner may become more professionally oriented. They may suddenly just become very like driven and ambitious and interested in achievement. But because it's the ruler of your 7th house, and if you're single, I wonder if you could be meeting the partner. There's likely to be a bit of tension between your relationship life and your professional life, or your partner's professional life and your relationship, because Jupiter in Gemini will be squaring Saturn. So that is significant. And another really big transit that's worth mentioning is that there's a lunar eclipse in Pisces. So we get the first eclipse in Pisces, which is an introduction of the cycle that starts fully in 2025 of North Node being in Pisces and South Node being in Virgo. So on September 17th, there's a lunar eclipse in Pisces. And I mentioned the new moon in Pisces on March 10th. So on September 17th, you get a lunar eclipse in Pisces, and that is a completion of that relationship chapter that was started in March. Like if you got engaged, you get married at this time. And it's a very big transformation in your romantic life, in your business partnership, in your marriage, or in the life of your partner. And like I said, it's like a start of a 1.5-year cycle that will be fully in action in 2025. So September is like huge, I think, in that regard. So let's see some other dates. Like early in the year, Mercury is retrograding, right? It started the retrograde in your 5th house, went into your 4th house, suggesting an element of maybe someone from your past coming into your life. Maybe you needed to address some kind of questions around children, maybe come to a better agreement with your partner, or have more fun, more pleasure, more sort of joy in a relationship. January 11th, there's also a new moon in Capricorn, as Venus is also in Capricorn in January 23rd, February 16th. So all of that rethinking of pleasure, maybe negotiating or rethinking something connected to your children. You find some clarity in that regard, I think, and you maybe find a new fresh energy in a relationship, and that new moon suggests new beginnings. It suggests that you are, even with that Pluto leaving your 5th house, like I think maybe you're completing some heavy work that you've been doing and you're getting ready for more fun in relationships. You're like, okay, enough lessons. Now I'm just gonna like go to comedy shows or go dancing, or I don't know, try doing some experimenting in the bedroom or something like that. So that could be fun. We talked about the new moon in Pisces. So March is a big month for dating. Don't just, chill at home. There's going to be some activations in April of your 8th house as Mercury goes retrograde in your 8th house, and we get a solar eclipse in Aries in your 8th house. And this could, this could be the time when your partner maybe experiences a bit of financial turmoil or financial uncertainty, where they have, maybe they have some kind of debts they have to pay, or you have some debts to pay. Could also be the time when you're negotiating your joint bank account with your partner. You're talking about the future. You're talking about your values. You're trying to come to an agreement. If you're single, this could be the opportunity to maybe get clear about what you want, or it could also be the time when you're starting professional partnerships. June 21st and July 21st, we get 2 full moons in Capricorn in your 5th house of love, pleasure, romance. So whatever got started in January, when we had the new moon on the 11th of January in Capricorn, your 5th house, whatever, kind of conversations you had about children, if there were any romantic developments, any sort of new beginnings around sex, any new beginnings around creative sort of energy you and your partner have together, it can come full circle. So like the most, the most sort of like easy manifestation here, or easily comes to mind, would be pregnancy, right? So full moon on June 21st or July 21st can definitely be symbolic of something being born, versus in January you're planting seeds in love, in childbirth, and then it gets manifested. August 4th until August 29th, Venus is in Virgo. This is your 1st house. You are most charming. And then November 11th between December 7th, Venus is in Capricorn, your 5th house. Venus rejoices in the 5th house. She was already in Capricorn between January 23rd and February 16th. And now she comes back around and helps you be more attractive, helps you be more appealing, making it easier to draw in a new connection or have more attunement, excitement, and pleasure in the existing one. So enjoy that. I hope you liked this 2024 horoscope. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and get your 2024 discounted year ahead reading. You can save $20 on the in-person consultation, links and coupon codes down below, or you can save $40 by getting the recorded reading in the shop section of my website. My beautiful Libra risings, or Libra suns or moons, if you prefer to listen for those placements, 2024 will be big, a very big year for love. It continues the themes of 2023 with the eclipses happening in your 1st and your 7th house, and Pluto entering your 5th house of love, pleasure, joy, children, bringing sort of a lot of transformations in those areas. It could bring new relationships, it could bring commitment, it could even bring pregnancy for some Libra placements, if that is something you're looking for. If not, be extra careful. So the eclipses are activating your 7th and your 1st houses, right? Especially if you have placements between 1 and 21 degrees, if that's your ascendant sign, if that's your, if you have any planets in those placements. Those are significant points of action this year. On March 25th, we get a lunar eclipse in your 1st house, 5 degrees Libra. And that completes the cycle that started on October 14th with a solar eclipse in Libra. And then immediately after, on April 8th, this is our, double eclipse pair. On April 8th, we get a solar eclipse in 19 degrees Aries in your 7th house, at the same time as Mercury is retrograding. So March and April, and I will back up to February because February is pretty big as well, but March and April are quite significant because of that eclipse action. And you are a Libra rising. We're getting eclipses in Libra, getting eclipses in Aries. So your identity is getting blown up, right? Like the South Node eclipse on March 25th is a change, right? Take a look at October 14th. What were you thinking about? What were you feeling? How was your health doing? Because this year is the time of personal transformation. You are letting something go. You are shedding the need to please others. You're shedding the need to wear a mask potentially. You're shedding a need to fit in and belong and, you know, fit the expectations of others. And so as you do that with the eclipses on March 25th, the lunar eclipse, and then the solar eclipse on April 2nd in Libra, you are opening up space for new beginnings in relationships. And North Node in Aries with that eclipse on April 8th definitely draws a lot of attention to your relationship sector. We also have, you know, I can't remember if I said it yet or not, but between April 1st and April 25th, there's also Mercury retrograde in Aries. And I believe also Venus will be in Aries between April 5th and April 29th. So starting in early April until the end of April, there's just so much focus on your relationship sector. And the new beginnings with the solar eclipse in Aries are suggestive of starting to date someone new. If you're single, you know, right around eclipse time could be the time when somebody new shows up in your life, and they might have those Aries qualities. They will be direct, they will be competitive, entrepreneurial, very like masculine, right? Sort of like kind of straightforward and ambitious and like protective of you. If you are in an existing relationship, this could be the time when you're moving a relationship forward. So to back up for a second, in February, we also get a lot of activations in your 5th house of pleasure, romance, joy, sex. And even before then, Pluto on January 20th enters your 5th house. So Pluto between January 20th and September 1st and then November 19th and all the way until 2043 will be in your 5th house. So it's a big deal. It's a huge deal, right? With Pluto being in the 5th house, you're likely to face some shadows and fears you have around being a parent. Maybe some, you know, sort of hang-ups around sex and pleasure. Do you let yourself have enough? Do you hide your true desires? Are you, you know, can you be more open? Initially, Pluto in the 5th house tends to be the time when you are facing difficulty at first and you're addressing fears, but then as the, you know, as it keeps moving through it, you may become more empowered by facing those fears, by, you know, experimenting, exploring your sexuality, by maybe becoming a parent and facing some of your doubts, right? Like if you had parents who weren't the best parents, perhaps you're more hesitant to become a parent yourself because you're aware of how difficult it is and you like watched people fail day in and day out, right? So Pluto in the 5th is significant. We also get new beginnings in that 5th house for you on February 9th. There's a new moon in Aquarius, so pregnancy, conception of something. On between February 16th and March 11th, Venus is here, and on February 22nd, Venus conjoins Mars in your 5th house. New beginnings in love, new relationships, new creative partnerships, starting a partnership with your significant other. I keep sort of coming back to this idea of pregnancy. It's super likely. It's like very, very much like there's a new moon on the 9th. There's Venus conjunct Mars. Venus is the ruler of your house. Mars is the ruler of the house of marriage and relationships. So two come together, they fight or they make love, right? So conceiving something, but like it could also be a partnership. It could also be a creative sort of, you know, maybe new beginning. Maybe you and your partner start a business. And then we actually get a full moon in Aquarius in mid-August, and that could be the time when whatever was conceived comes full circle, starts to bear fruit, you know, pregnancy becomes more official, etc. So February is big for that. February brings like questions of like, what is pleasure? What is fun? what do I see myself doing, right? Like, am I a parent? Am I not? Am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? And please let me know whether this resonates and how it resonates down below. April, there is a retrograde in Aries and an eclipse in Aries. So for some of you, it could be restarting a relationship with someone from your past, an ex coming into your life and sort of singing you songs and being like, let's give it another try. So be mindful of that. It could also be the time when you are rehashing old fights and you're having conversations about something that you're like, oh, I thought we were done with that, right? Like talking about spending money in a relationship or talking about children or, you know, anything like that. You're like looking at agreements, spoken and unspoken. Like your partner believes you got to clean every day, you got to wash the dishes after every meal, and you believe that you can do it like the next day or you can do it at the end of the day. So having these conversations and then either coming to an agreement and getting closer. The eclipse on April 8th to me suggests, like, you know, new beginning, commitment, engagement. It could also be very business oriented, right? Like whenever we talk about relationships and love readings, you can always think that it's also like a business relationship, but very significant developments in love. If you are not happy with the relationship and you feel like separating would give you more freedom, this could also be about that, right? But it's likely kind of conscious, personal choice and not something that will be sprung on you. It's going to be more like, okay, I feel like I will become more free and become more successful once I am independent. So both are a possibility. Will depend on how connected to the partner you are and how, you know, how good of a relationship it is. April 20th and May 22nd, 23rd are really big, both of them. And I would give it like from April to May. Jupiter conjoins Uranus in Taurus in your 8th house. And then May 22nd, 23rd, Venus conjoins Jupiter in your 8th house. And there's breakthroughs in finances. Your partner might be getting an inheritance, winning a lottery, receiving a bonus. Their finances can suddenly just sort of skyrocket. You may be getting sudden like bonuses or, you know, tax returns or opportunities, but there is like, I think, a strong possibility of like either a connection that offers you financial freedom or, once again, maybe also separating from a connection that is limiting. Between May 23rd, June 17th, Venus is in Gemini, your 9th house. Lovely time to go on a trip together, to get away with your partner. I talked about the full moon in Aquarius, your 5th house, on August 19th as that birthing point for a connection or a child that you have potentially conceived. I know 6 months is not a lot, it's not enough to grow a child within, but, you know, these dates are very exact and we can always give them a little bit of room on each side. August 29th until September 22nd is arguably one of the best transits. I mean, I would argue, because it's my personal favorite transit. It's Venus going to be in Libra, your 1st house. So this is your time to shine. You are at your most charming. You may receive more gifts. It may be easier to draw in a partner, and your partner will likely treat you with more love and kindness. And then, you know, we talked about the solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd as, once again, sort of personal new beginnings that potentially involve shedding something. And then the full moon in Aries on October 17th is either like, once again, a completion of a relationship if you feel like it's holding you back, or it's an opportunity to move forward in a partnership, to commit, to, you know, come closer, to grow together. And the final transit I'm going to cover is Venus being in Aquarius between December 7th and January 2nd. So she rolls back into Aquarius, and this is sexy, this is romantic, this is a bit, you know, a bit rational, a bit like, let's play a trivia game together, but still like a moment of pleasure and love, more dates, more opportunities to connect with somebody and, you know, start new things. I hope you enjoyed this 2024 love horoscope. Get your 2024 year ahead reading that is personalized to you and covers all of the important transits for your natal chart, talks about overall trends and makes some predictions. And, you know, I do my best to give you guidance. It's currently discounted. You can save $20 on the in-person reading, or you can save $40 by getting a recorded reading on my website. Links are down there. And please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't yet. I appreciate you guys. Now, if you are a Scorpio rising, this is your love horoscope for 2024. There's a lot of exciting developments for you in 2024. We're talking about love specifically, but you know, like even Pluto going into your 4th house again suggests some kind of big transformations in the sector of family, in the sector of living situation, maybe some births coming up, you know, some new beginnings in your family life, like starting a family with somebody is a possibility, but this is like a longer 20-year cycle. So Jupiter is in your 7th house until May 25th. It moves from 5 degrees to 29 degrees. So if you are a Scorpio rising between 5 and 29 degrees, you may potentially benefit from it the most. April and May will be really big with Jupiter-Uranus and Jupiter-Venus conjunctions. Saturn is in your 5th house all year, and you're likely building something. You're maybe building towards becoming a parent, or you're building, you know, this could also be a business that you're birthing. You're like investing a lot of energy, and that could be into like a new beginning romantically, like moving into a new house, right? Or it could be parenthood. It could be some kind of growth. There's also going to be a lunar eclipse in Pisces, your 5th house, on September 17th, which will introduce the year-and-a-half cycle that will fully begin when nodes shift into Pisces and Virgo. And that is, one second, it's just getting more comfortable. And that is next year. So after 2024, 2025. And so the lunar eclipse on September 17th can bring major developments once again when we're talking about children, becoming a parent, when we're talking about love and commitment and connection and pleasure, and just sort of changes around those topics, either letting go of a connection that's no longer enjoyable or starting a new one, moving a relationship to a different level. All of those are possibilities. So in February, we're going to have basically, you know, January is pretty quiet. February, we have Venus conjunct Mars, a very romantic transit. It's happening in your 4th house. And that could be the time when you and your significant others are sort of like nesting, and you're designing and decorating, or you're having a passionate night in. It's, you know, around Valentine's Day, so there's a lot of kind of romance in the air, but it's a very, for me personally, I like look at that date and I'm like, it's a very romantic day in 2024. March 10th, we get a new moon in Pisces in your 5th house of romance, creativity, children. So I just told you about the lunar eclipse on September 17th. And so this new moon is the beginning, and then the lunar eclipse is the ending, or the completion, or the change. The tide turns, right? So something is starting here. A seed gets planted, a new relationship begins, a connection blossoms, right? It's like very fertile, very moist. Pisces is a water sign, so it's very abundant, I think, both once again for creative but also romantic opportunities. Venus enters Pisces, your 5th house, and is here. She's exalted in Pisces, so it's a strong Venus. She's in her house Joy, so between March 11th and April 5th, there's plenty of opportunities. Venus will be looking at your Taurus, Jupiter and Uranus currently together. And then on April 20th, Jupiter comes together with Uranus in your 7th house. And these conjunctions happen very rarely in Taurus, right? Like last time it happened like probably in 1941 was the last one, and before that it was 1800. So it's like once a century type of conjunction. And it's happening in your 7th house of relationships. And there is like a sudden development, a sudden opportunity. And you know, this energy, yes, the conjunction is the 20th, but it's like the start, it's the seed getting planted. And like you may experience a unique idea, or you may kind of get like a unique romantic development, but it's not necessarily like you're going to see everything immediately. It might take, you know, it might take a month or 2 or a year or so for it to show up. But April 20th, Jupiter conjoins Uranus, and then also May 22nd, 23rd, we have Venus conjoining Jupiter. Everything is in your 7th house. There's a new moon on May 7th in your 7th house. There's Venus in your 7th house between April 29th, May 23rd. So April and May. But even, you know, I gave you the dates for March. So starting in March until like May, I think you are very romantically oriented. The April 20th conjunction could be a sudden development, like marriage, like engagement, pregnancy, right? Pregnancy is absolutely possible, like something that you haven't seen. Your partner's life could be transforming suddenly. They could be receiving a chance to move to a different country or start a job that is very financially lucrative. What's interesting is Jupiter will go into Gemini, your 8th house, from May 25th, 2024 until June 9th, 2025. So Jupiter being in the 8th house is a sign of the partner's resources improving, or you benefiting through partnerships, you benefiting through other people. So if we're talking about, you know, the relationship, I can definitely see them going through some kind of sudden development, opportunity, transformation, opening, change that then affects your relationship in the process. So it would be interesting to see what that means, right? I like that there's also a new moon on May 17th in the house of relationships. This is a start of a cycle. It will come full circle on November 15th when we get a full moon in Taurus, your 7th house. So if you get proposed to, maybe you get married later in the year. If you start talking about becoming a parent, maybe you get pregnant by that time. So September and November are once again quite busy romantically. And between September 22nd and October 17th, Venus will also be in Scorpio, your 1st house. We like Venus in Scorpio in the 1st house. In general, I think it's really nice to have Venus in the 1st house, because 1st house is the place of self, it's the place of physical body, and you can show up more with more like grace and charm and beauty and eloquence, and be more attractive and be better at, you know, drawing in the resources, the abundance, the opportunities that you desire. And I hope you enjoyed this love horoscope for 2024. Get your personal reading to find out what the year has in store for you. It is currently discounted. You can save $20 on the in-person consultation, or you can save $40 by getting a recorded reading. And if you like my work, please subscribe and press that like button. For Sagittarius risings, this is your 2024 forecast for the year. So how exciting. So you are Sagittarius, Jupiter, your chart ruler, goes into Gemini. So I'm just going to do like a quick bird's eye view, and then we're going to talk about more specific dates. But you are ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter enters Gemini on May 25th, 7th house, stays here for a year. From May 25th until June 9th, 2025, Jupiter will be in Gemini. And this is really lovely for relationships. This is encouraging. This is, you know, especially if you're ascendant or you have planets between 0 to 21 degrees, Sagittarius, because that's how far Jupiter will travel until the end of this year. But Jupiter in the 7th house is the time of opportunity. It's the time of people coming into your life that are encouraging, that are supportive, that are wise and well-educated and well-rounded and just sort of, you know, spiritual, and people who can like encourage you, uplift you, teach you. So major, I think, developments in love and marriage and relationships. A little bit less, it might slow down, like that kind of influx of fresh energy can slow down between October 9th and February 4th. But it's a great cycle for sure. And then we're still getting eclipses in Libra and Aries. There's going to be an Aries eclipse on April 8th, and this is your 5th house, which suggests April is interesting. You know, like if we're talking about April, we might as well talk about do I want to start with January? Let's start with January. So in January, Mercury is fresh from the retrograde, and the retrograde is in Sagittarius, right? So the retrograde has brought up some important questions about your self-worth, about your independence, and about your desires. Venus is also in Sagittarius between December 29th and January 23rd. And then you get it again between October 17th and November 11th. But early January, Mercury is fresh from the retrograde. You're more clear about your self-worth. You're more clear about your desires. Venus in Sagittarius until the 23rd of the month gives you more charm. You are more appealing. You're full of ideas. They might be creative. They might be romantic. There might just be like, I think you're looking for more fun in life. And it's going to be easier to access it, and it's going to be easier to attract people as well. February 22nd, Venus conjoins Mars, which is a very sexy, passionate transit in your 3rd house in Aquarius. And this is the time when you move, let's say there's a neighbor you like, or let's say your sibling has a friend that you find attractive, or let's say there's a guy who you see at a coffee shop all the time. So Venus conjunct Mars in your 3rd house could be the time when you start dating someone you meet during your rounds, or someone you know through a sibling, like I said, or if it's your neighbor as well. And then so that relationship may potentially encounter some kind of a glitch, or there might be something you need to sort through between April 1st and April 25th, because Mercury goes retrograde in your 5th house of pleasure, children, romance, and sex, basically. So there's a few possibilities, right? Like if you are dating someone, Mercury going retrograde here is the time. Mercury also rules your 7th house, right? So Mercury, the ruler of the 7th house, being retrograde in the house of romance, pleasure, children, could be the time when your partner is struggling somehow. Maybe they're lacking inspiration, and the fact that they're struggling is affecting you and your relationship. Maybe they have a child and the child is going through a difficult time, or your child is going through a difficult time. Like maybe they feel more confused and your relationship is sort of experiencing some pressures, I think, around this time. I do like that on April 5th, Venus enters Aries. It's your 5th house, stays here until April 29th. So there's a lot of, there's like an element of supportive energy. But you do, I think, have to figure out new ways of relating, new ways of having fun, new ways of handling parenthood, or even maybe you're having conversations with your partner about children and making these important decisions, because we get the solar eclipse in 19 degrees Aries in your 5th house on April 8th. You will feel it especially strongly if your ascendant is between 16 and 22 degrees Sagittarius. But this is a seeding. This is a new beginning in your house of love, a new beginning in the house of pleasure, a new beginning in the house of children. So for those in relationships, this could be the time you decide to have a child. Even if you're single, this could be the time you decide to freeze your eggs, for example, or make some kind of important adjustments. If you're single, this retrograde could also be about rediscovering fun, or maybe maybe you felt like you've lost your mojo and you didn't know what you want in love anymore. So I think this could be the time when you're starting to get more aligned and more clear and more direct, right? Mercury retrograde in Aries, it's like what is needed, like what do you need to say? Where do you need to be more brave? Where do you need to be more direct and blunt almost and express yourself? So, so I think solar eclipse is significant for that around April 8th. On May 23rd, between May 23rd and June 17th, Venus goes into Gemini. This is your 7th house. Jupiter enters Gemini on May 25th. So late May, June is very busy in terms of your partnerships and commitments and sort of serious relationships and agreements. There's also Venus Cazimi, which is a beautiful moment of connection in love on June 4th, and a new moon shortly after that conjoins Venus on June 6th, right? So June is romantic, June is beautiful. Jupiter, your chart ruler, is here, so you're likely, if you have been super work focused with Jupiter being in your 6th house, now you become more open to love. You become more interested in it. A lot of your focus is like going towards relating with others, towards making commitments and, you know, getting closer with other people. So it could be quite significant. I think June to me looks very beautiful, and might be actually, you know, might be the time when new people are knocking on your door and coming into your life, perhaps in June. The new moon in the 7th house is especially, I think, potent for new beginnings, for new opportunities, for starting a relationship, for moving a fling to a more serious level, for even for getting engaged or maybe getting pregnant or something like that. Be careful in terms of like fighting more than normal between July 20th and September 4th with Mars being in Gemini. And October 17th, we get full moon in Aries, your 5th house. So you can see developments around love, around creativity, around children, around pleasure. Maybe, you know, if in April you or your partner ran into some kind of difficulty when it comes to romance or when it comes to children, around October is when this situation starts to lift. I also like that Venus will be in Sagittarius between October 17th and November 11th, offering you more charm, making you more expressive, more creative, more attractive. So good time to take action. And then at the end of the year, we get the retrograde. So there's going to be a retrograde starting November 25th until December 15th in Sagittarius, which is suggestive that you are questioning your goals. Perhaps some flashbacks to the late 2023, because Mercury was retrograde in Sagittarius in late 2023. So I think you're looking at your style, you're looking at your health, you're looking at your communication and your goals, and that as a result affects your relationships, because we also get a full moon on December 15th, the day Mercury goes direct. And so whatever you are realizing about yourself, you becoming more clear about your goals, you're becoming more aware of your desires, then comes into your relationships. And around mid-December, you might be letting go of a connection if you feel like it's not who you are to be with that person, right? You feel like there's no alignment. Or you may be making a relationship more official. That is also a possibility here. Or, you know, making some kind of taking significant steps in a relationship, like moving in together or something like that. And this is it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed your 2024 love horoscope. Get your 2024 reading, your personal horoscope, on my website. It's currently discounted. You can save $20 off the live reading, or you can save $40 by getting a recorded reading. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please leave a like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. Capricorn rising, this is your 2024 love horoscope. It's an exciting year because Jupiter is still in your 5th house until May 25th, and 5th house is the place of pleasure. It's the place of joy. So Jupiter being here is very much encouraging you to have fun. It's encouraging you to get connected with what you desire, with what inspires you, to take action in love, to take action in parenting, to sort of bring forth those projects that make your heart beat faster. And we get the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction on April 20th, and then Venus-Jupiter conjunction on May 22nd, 23rd. And those are very kind of significant opportunities and exciting moments when you might be getting pregnant, right? Like Jupiter-Uranus on April 20th, getting pregnant, starting a creative project, starting a relationship. If you have been laboring through something, or if you have been working on any sort of, relationship, or if you have been really trying to get pregnant and it's been taking a while, I think April 20th is the time when things may speed up, and it's like a crack of dawn after a long night, and you see things differently. You're like welcoming different perspectives. You're welcoming new partnerships, new relationships, new energy. So the year begins, that is a big one, I think, worth mentioning at the start of your reading. But the year begins with Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is finishing up, but at the end of 2023, you have dealt with a bit of an identity crisis. You have been questioning how you present yourself, how you communicate. You may have dealt with some difficult internal questions, faced like inner battles, asked, am I this way or am I that way? How do people perceive me? And then we also had a full moon in Cancer on December 27th, which could have brought completion of a romantic chapter. Maybe you let go of a relationship, or maybe you've made some important decisions in the relationship. So I feel like that identity crisis could have been connected to what's happening in your relationships, as you potentially examining the connections you make, your personal desires, and how people in your life reflect your desires, right? Like, are they aligned or are they not aligned? And so the start of the year is very much about you and you trying to understand yourself. We also have that Sun-Pluto conjunction. Luckily, another big news is Pluto is basically out of your first house, which is amazing. You've been dealing with Pluto in the first house since 2008, which could have brought up a lot of shadows, a lot of fears, a lot of losses potentially, and maybe even challenges in relationships, right? Because Pluto in the first looks at your 7th house. But this year, Pluto leaves, right? You do get a little bit of Pluto in Capricorn between the 1st and the 20th of January, and then again between September 1st and November 19th. But then after that, it's Pluto in Aquarius. So that is quite exciting. So you're doing a lot of introspective work early in the year, and perhaps processing some kind of important relationship decision that happened in late December. Please let me know what happened in late December. Is there something that you think this might be about? January 23rd until February 16th, Venus enters Capricorn, your 2nd house. Oh, sorry, your 1st house. Venus in Capricorn, 1st house. I love Venus transits through the 1st house. It makes you more charming, makes you more beautiful, magnetic, better at manifesting things, better at drawing a partnership. You may notice other people being more generous with you, other people sort of treating you really well. There's also a new moon around this time. So you are being, you've done a lot of inner work, you've done some healing in relationships, and you're getting ready to present the world a new you. And then April comes, and April is a big month. April is when Jupiter joins Uranus. So whatever you've been working on, if you've been out there dating, or if you've been in a relationship and you felt like it's moving rather slowly, or if you've been trying to get pregnant, April 20th or April, May, let's be broad, right, could be very significant for that. I'm going to give you a bunch of dates that are all speaking to the same theme. So April 20th, Jupiter conjoins Uranus. Sudden, quick openings, opportunities, breakthroughs in love, in creativity, in parenthood. Between April 29th, May 23rd, Venus is in Taurus in your 5th house. You're more interested in having a good time, you're more creative, you're more inspired, you're more fertile. So once again, anyone who's trying to get pregnant, this is the year. April, May, go for it. If you're not trying to get pregnant, but you're trying to get in a relationship, this could also be a great year for that. So April 29th, May 23rd, Venus in Taurus. May 7th, there's a new moon in Taurus, new beginnings, pregnancy, new relationship, something that comes full circle in mid-November. We get a full moon in Taurus on November 15th. So you are starting things right now. By November 15th, the relationship might solidify, become more official. If you're trying to get pregnant, maybe that's the time when you get pregnant, or if you got pregnant a couple of months before this, maybe you give birth in November, December. So lots of exciting developments. May 22nd, 23rd, you also get Venus conjunct Jupiter. Very beautiful, very soft, very romantic, lovely energy. A little bit further down the line, June 17th until July 11th, Venus is in Cancer, your 7th house. July 5th, there's a new moon in Cancer, your 7th house. Once again, Cancer has that like familial, nurturing, loving energy. And 7th is the house of marriage and relationships. A new moon here could bring engagement, it could bring commitment, it could bring marriage, pregnancy, parenthood. So those are very significant. And I guess, you know, a couple of other important dates I think to look at are August 4th until August 29th. Venus is in Virgo. If you're planning any trips, if you're wanting to get away with your significant other, or if you're into dating foreigners, this could be the time to go for it and go on a trip and try doing Bumble abroad or something. Between September 4th and November 3rd, Mars will be in Cancer, your 7th house. And I would just urge you to be careful, like swallowing your frustrations. Instead, try to express your feelings openly and honestly, so you have more of a dialogue and you don't sort of sacrifice how you feel, and you don't like express how you feel. And also, like, there's another important transit that I think is worth mentioning, is that Mars will be retrograde, but this is more like later in the year, between December 6th and February 23rd, 2025. Mars does go retrograde from 6 degrees Leo to 17 Cancer. And Leo is your 8th house of debts, loans, taxes, partners, resources, shared finances. And 7th house is the house of relationships. So if there are any disagreements you have around money, around values, around, you know, like there are all these new beginnings romantically or creatively or in terms of becoming a parent, and it's exciting, but you also need to make sure that you're addressing the practical concerns, that you have enough savings, that you and your partner are on the same page in both your desires and your values and your sort of finances. So the retrograde at the end of the year could be the time when you maybe deal with some latent frustrations, right? And like I said, in order to avoid the frustrations, try to express them as they come. Even this, you know, Venus in Cancer new moon we get in July, those could be your opportunities to examine how you deal with conflict in relationships and maybe find ways to be better at it. You cannot avoid conflict, but you can learn to approach it with care and kindness and not make sort of accusatory statements, and instead be more caring and patient. If you like this horoscope, let me know, and make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and get yourself a 2024 forecast that's currently discounted. You can save $20 and get an in-person consultation. Links and coupon codes are down below, or you can pick up a recorded reading and save $40 in the shop section of my website. If you are an Aquarius rising or Aquarius sun or moon, depending on what you like to listen to, this is your 2024 love horoscope. How exciting. So 2024 is a big year of personal empowerment. Pluto enters your first house. You had a preview of that between March 23rd and June 11th, 2023. What kind of topics came up? Have there been any shadows, any darkness you faced that encouraged you to maybe rethink how you present yourself to the world, how you show up? So Pluto enters your first house again and permanently in 2024. We get, at first it's from January 20th until September 1st, and then November 19th and all the way through 2043. So it's a big deal, right? Pluto goes into Aquarius, especially big if your rising sign is between 0 and 2 degrees Aquarius. You're going to feel this the most. But why is Pluto in the first house important for your relationships? That is because planets in the first house look at the 7th house. The two are exactly opposite one another. So if you are going through personal transformations and facing shadows and changing, so do your relationships. Basically, you're going to experience, you know, as you become more powerful, as you become more secure within yourself, as you face some shadows, some of the relationships will withstand and grow stronger, and some of the relationships will get tested by that, because chances are the transformations you go through are also connected to your relationships, and you're not just going through it alone, right? We don't exist in a vacuum. Exciting news is that Jupiter enters your 5th house come May 25th, 2024, and stays there for a little bit over a year until June 9th, 2025. Jupiter in the 5th house is opportunities around love, opportunities around pregnancy and parenthood and pleasure. So you might be experiencing exciting developments there. There's also going to be, kind of a lot of action in Gemini, and that is your 5th house. So that is also fun, and that is all happening in June. So a little bit, I think we'll touch on that, a little bit of challenging energy later in the year as Mars goes retrograde in your 7th house. You dealt with Venus retrograde in your 7th house in August of 2023. So you will have a little bit more of, assert yourself, express yourself, learn to fight without fist fighting in your 7th house. So yeah, like in the end of this year, basically. So January 20th, Pluto enters Aquarius. We talked about that. Maybe a little bit more, looking at shadows, becoming more secure within yourself. It's a 20-year long transit. So chances are in 2024, you might just be coming to a realization that something is in your environment doesn't quite work. I have an Aquarius rising client, and when this transit happened in 2023, she was realizing that there is a lot of bureaucracy or a lot of darkness in the company she works for. And the questions that were coming up were related to, well, like, how can I make a difference, right? Like, what can I do to be the source of change? So these are some of the questions you might be pondering at this time. January 25th brings a change to your relationship sector as we get a full moon in Leo, and 5 degrees Leo, especially important if you have planets or your rising sign is between 2 and 8 degrees Aquarius. But this is a completion of a romantic chapter that started during the retrograde. So we had a new moon in Leo on August 16th, 2023, and now we're getting the full moon in Leo. So if your relationship has been going through any difficulty, this might be the time when the relationship ends, or this might be the time when you celebrate that you have gone through it and you have overcome the difficulty. If you're single, the full moon in Leo could be the time when you are getting ready to put yourself out there and sort of show up and become more visible in the romantic world. Venus will be in Aquarius between February 16th and March 11th. This is your 1st house. This is very charming. She will also come back to Aquarius later in the year. For some reason, I don't have the dates saved up for Aquarius risings, but I do have them saved up for Libra risings. So between December 7th and January 2nd, it's going to be in Aquarius again. So this period is you at your most charming, at your most beautiful. There's also Venus conjunct Mars on February 22nd in your 1st house. So very fertile, very kind of, it's the energy of conception, and take it whichever way works for you, right? Like, not everyone will be getting pregnant at this time. Some might. For others, this could be the start of a relationship, or this could be a start of a creative initiative, like something gets sort of activated within you, some kind of spark happens, you're getting excited about something. And Venus rules your 4th house of home and family, right? And your 9th house of education, and Mars rules your house of siblings and neighbors, and it also rules the house of career. So maybe it's like a new creative project, right? So then it's a little bit less romantic, a little bit more creative, but it could be quite romantic. There's a lot of action in your romantic sector in late May, from like mid-May until June, as Venus enters Gemini and Jupiter enters Gemini. They're basically both sort of waltzing into your 5th house Come May 23rd is Venus, and then May 25th is Jupiter. Jupiter stays here for a year until June 9th, 2025. Venus exits on June 17th, but she will make a conjunction with the Sun on June 4th. So even more of that conceptory energy. I don't know if that's the word, but it's like new beginnings. There's a new moon here as well on June 6th. So Venus comes in on the 23rd of May. Jupiter comes in on May 25th, and you are getting inspired, right? You're getting inspired to take your relationship to the next level. You want to create something with your partner. You're looking for opportunities to move the relationship to the next level, to become, you know, like to create life on some level, or to create a new kind of fun relationship, maybe where you start a business together, you start traveling, you like go on a cross-country trip together, or you get pregnant, or you start trying for a child. So that could be kind of inception of something new. We will have the full moon in Gemini on December 15th. So that could be the time when the new beginnings and the seeds you planted in June come full circle and bear fruit. Another important period romantically is in July, between July 11th and August 4th. You get Venus in Leo in your 7th house. Luckily, she doesn't go retrograde this time around, so this could be beneficial for love. This could be beneficial for your partner, where your partner is doing better somehow, experiencing more, you know, abundance, maybe more resources coming from them. And then there's a new moon in Leo on August 4th. And this is at 12 degrees 33 minutes Leo, so will be mostly felt the strongest for people with their ascendant between 9 and 15 degrees Aquarius. So this is the start of something new. This is a new relationship, new partnership, new kind of business relationship, or starting a business with your partner. You will, that whatever you get started, whether it's a romantic relationship or a business relationship, you will need to rethink and renegotiate, or maybe look closely at the agreements and the contracts you're signing, because between August 5th and August 28th, Mercury will be retrograding from Virgo, your 8th house, into Leo, your 7th house. So, and I think you're looking at the relationships from a perspective of like, how do we share, how do we make money? How do we invest money? How do we spend money? Who takes care of what? So a little bit of like readjustment here. Between August 29th and September 22nd, Venus is in Libra, your 9th house. Lovely time to travel, to get away with your partner, to plan trips, to, experiment sexually, to study like Kama Sutra together or something like that. And then on November, so the more difficult energy comes later in the year. Like I said, Mars goes into Leo on November 3rd, stays here until January 6th. And then between December 6th and January 6th, it will be retrograde in Leo. So I wonder if you dealt with any relationship difficulties in August 2023. Now we're going to have a retrograde of Mars in your 7th house. So examining how you handle desire, how you handle love, how you handle conflict in relationships, and perhaps finding ways to express your frustrations in healthy ways. Maybe finding ways to be more active with your partner, and to be more, kind of learning to deal with drama and conflicts without creating drama or walking away, and instead trying to come to a compromise and an agreement. I hope you enjoyed your love horoscope, Aquarius. Consider getting your year ahead horoscope that is specific to your natal chart and is currently discounted. You can save $20 and get an in-person consultation with me, or you can save $40 and get a recorded reading on my website. Links are down below. Now, if you are a Pisces rising, this is your 2024 love forecast. How exciting. So if you are a Pisces, there is a lot of focus on you. Saturn is in your 1st house, moving from 3 to 19 degrees Pisces. If your ascendant is between those degrees, or if you have any important planets in those degrees. in Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Gemini, Saturn is affecting you a lot, right? And Saturn is in the first, but it's looking at the seventh. So as you go, you know, we always kind of like, the first is always connected to the seventh because your personal changes affect the seventh house of relationships. So Saturn in the first is indicative of you starting to figure out how to take better care of your health, how to take better care of your life. You're showing up in the world as more responsible, meaning there's more duties, there's more things on your plate. And so your relationships get affected, right? There's going to be a lunar eclipse in Pisces, the first ever in a while, in your first house on September 17th, and it could challenge your sense of self. It could sort of like test you for the effort you put in, and then test your relationships for whether they are supportive of the growth you're going through. Because if you are on this path of like taking good care of your health and your partner prefers like partying and going out and, you know, sort of living life, maybe they don't have Saturn in the first house. So if you are not aligned this year could show up those kind of, you know, disagreements, and the eclipse we're going to have on September 17th could definitely be the time when you choose yourself, right? Like you choose your well-being. Or if the relationship is strong, it could be quite supportive, I think. Especially because around that same time in September on the 2nd, we have a new moon in Virgo, your 7th house. So the new beginnings in relationships can actually inspire you to maybe show up with more maturity. And that an example would be like, you know, becoming a parent, and then the full moon in the first house, the eclipse in the first house is suggestive of you kind of owning up the responsibility and stepping to the plate and being more serious. Okay. So another important transit to mention is on April 20th, Jupiter will conjoin Uranus in your 3rd house. And this is important for people who are either thinking of moving, people who are interested in their neighbors. You have like a neighbor that you are eyeing and find attractive. There could be breakthroughs around that, and breakthroughs in communication. I think that's another emphasis this year, like communicating, expressing your mind, and being better at like dealing with verbal disagreements. So the year begins in the beginning of the year. You know, we are coming off of the full moon in Cancer that happened on December 27th in your 5th house, which could have brought a change to your house of relationships, maybe some important decisions, some conversations around love, about children, about pleasure, and maybe, you know, some kind of ending when it comes to a relationship that wasn't fulfilling if you were involved in some kind of a fling, or a chance to move a relationship to a different level and rethink how you handle joy, maybe like, you know, starting to go on more dates, or starting to put yourself out there more, or just like cleaning space for something. I don't know, like you're sort of either letting go of an outdated connection, or you're letting go of uncertainty in a relationship so that there's more clarity. February 22nd, Venus conjoins Mars in your 12th house. And this could be quite romantic, but most likely behind the scenes, or you're getting away with your partner. Maybe, you know, this could be like a great time in February to just sort of take a step back from the hustle and the bustle and enjoy some passionate closed doors type thing. But be careful that you're not, so Venus will be in Aquarius between February 16th and March 11th. So just make sure that you're not using this time to go after connections that are passionate but unhealthy. February 24th, after that passionate energy, we get a full moon in Virgo, your 7th house, 5 degrees Virgo. You will feel it especially strongly if you have natal planets between 2, or your rising sign between 2 and 8 degrees Pisces. So full moon in Virgo completes a romantic chapter that started about 6 months ago in September, and brings commitment. It brings moving a relationship to another level. It can bring proposing or getting proposed to. If you're single, this could be about maybe like finally wrapping up the chapter of old relationship. Maybe you are rediscovering what you desire in connections and in relationships. March 10th, there's a new moon in your first house. You're becoming more clear and starting new personal projects. Venus enters Pisces between March 11th and April 5th. And you're more appealing, more attractive, better at like drawing in the energy and the people you desire. So show up in the world, go out there, show them what you look like, how beautiful you are, all of that kind of stuff. April 20th, I mentioned there's sort of, exciting connection with a neighbor that can transpire, as well as I can see this as like opportunity to move and then maybe dating someone who is in a new neighborhood. Maybe like, something is changing around your everyday life. You're like starting to take subway to work, or you're starting to drive a different route and you stop by at a coffee shop and there is someone there. So that could be exciting. In June, between June 17th and July 11th, Venus is in Cancer. We also get a new moon in Cancer on July 5th. This is all your fifth house of babies. So making babies is important here, and that could just be for fun, or it could be because you're trying to get pregnant. New relationships. Venus rejoices in the fifth house, so you have her in the fifth house between June 17th, July 11th, and you're more charming, you are more magnetic. It's a yin Venus, so you're not necessarily forcing it. You might just find that other people invite you out more, and there's more sort of get-togethers with other people, more like parties that you can go to and meet someone. Between August 4th and August 29th, Venus is in Virgo, your seventh house. And there's a new moon in Virgo on September 2nd. So you are starting a new relationship potentially, or a business partnership, but a new chapter in your love life where if you're single, you're starting to go date, and maybe over the course of the next 6 months, you're going to connect with someone and start a new relationship. If you're in a relationship, commitment might be right around the corner, right? Some kind of joining of resources, joining of forces. It's interesting because we also have Mercury retrograde leading into this new moon, right? So Mercury retrograde happens between August 5th and August 28th. So the entirety of Venus in Virgo, Mercury is pretty much retrograde. So yeah, there is Venus in Virgo in your seventh house between August 4th and 29th, and the entire time Mercury is retrograde too. And that feels to me like you are, because the retrograde goes from Virgo into Leo, you are questioning the logistics in your relationships and your partnerships. You're looking at your agreements surrounding problem solving, cleaning, paying bills, doing laundry. Like, what are your kind of relationship dynamics there? And if you have had any conflicts about it, they might be coming back. And then hopefully the new moon on September 2nd allows you to figure things out and to come up with, like, if anything, Virgo is good at details and problem solving. So perhaps you just have to navigate some of those like minutia, grind type things in life to experience a better relationship energy. And September 17th, there is that lunar eclipse in Pisces, which we talked about, which is a big personal shift that has the power to affect your relationships. Because if you get a job offer in a different country and you end up moving, chances are your relationship will either end or move with you to the other place. I hope you enjoyed your 2024 love horoscope, dear Pisces, rising suns or moons. Visit my website and get your year ahead 2024 reading. Take advantage of the current discount and save $20 off the in-person consultation or $40 off the recorded reading. Links are down below. And this is it. This is the year horoscope for all the signs, the love horoscope. I'm also gonna focus and probably do the love, career and money forecast potentially. And there's going to be a video breaking down the big transits and the horoscopes. They might come in different order, but this is my plan. Let me know if you have any suggestions. Let me know if you have any burning questions in terms of what you want to know about 2024. And thank you for being here. I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the holidays and enjoy the start of the year.